So I just cracked open a brand new, completely blank field journal. My mission? To step outside my front door and investigate exactly why my local community is changing right before my eyes. I mean, we're not just memorizing facts today. I am totally playing the role of a social scientist, like a real investigator out in the field. Let's set the stage for this explainer and see what we can actually discover together. Seriously, think about it for a second. What has changed in your neighborhood in just the last 5 years? Has a brand new transport line opened up? Did that old empty lot down the street turn into this massive housing complex? Or maybe a new tech park brought in workers from all over the place and it completely flipped the whole vibe of your local market. Well, these aren't just random events. They're the exact kinds of phenomena that social scientists investigate every single day. See, society is like one giant connected story. It's definitely not just a bunch of separate, isolated pieces. For me, social science isn't some dusty textbook subject you just cram for a test and forget about. It's actually the ultimate tool to figure out why these events happen and how our everyday actions, from the food we eat to the roads we travel, are deeply, deeply connected to the people, the institutions, and the environment all around us. Which brings us to our first section, Ancient Roots of Inquiry. Okay, so this whole investigator vibe I'm adopting, it actually isn't new at all. It has these incredibly deep, ancient roots in Indian knowledge traditions. Take the concept of Panchamahabhutas, for example. This breaks down into the 5 great elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. Thousands of years ago, early thinkers didn't view humans as being separate from nature. They saw these elements as forming this massive, interconnected natural system. And they use this really holistic framework to understand how our physical environment dictates where we build our settlements, what kinds of jobs we do, and even what our traditional food habits are. So my modern neighborhood investigation, it actually has some pretty ancient precedents. And, this thought process naturally extends way beyond just the physical earth, straight to the people living on it. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, literally the world is one family. I think this just beautifully captures the absolute core of what social science still tries to understand today: the profound interdependence of human societies. A change in my neighborhood or my city, it ripples out because we are all sharing this space across so many different cultures and boundaries. All right, let's switch gears. Geography, mapping the space. So I flipped to page 1 of my field journal to physically map out the space. Because the crucial point in geography is understanding exactly where things are and why they're there. And I'm not using old paper maps for this. I logged right into the NCERT School Bhuvan portal. Gotta admit, at first all those satellite layers were a bit overwhelming. But with GIS, Geographic Information Systems, I can pull up imagery of my exact neighborhood. I can map precisely where a new development was built, and then really start analyzing why that specific location was chosen, based on things like terrain, the climate, or access to local resources. Next up, history, tracing the past. The thing is, I can't truly understand what my neighborhood looks like today without tracing how it evolved to get here. And to trace that past, I realized social scientists gather a massive variety of evidence. On one hand, we have literary sources, like a beautiful Samaveda manuscript, which preserves cultural memory, ideas, and values across generations. But on the other hand, we have material remains, like an incredible terracotta figurine from the Sindhu-Saraswati civilization. The past leaves clues in both the words written down and the physical objects left behind in the dirt. But to make sense of all these scattered clues, I have to rely heavily on empirical evidence. And this just means information collected by actual observation or experimentation. I can't just, guess how old an archaeological site is or carbon date that forgotten sandwich at the back of my locker, right? We use rigorous scientific tools to establish verified timelines. And by doing this, we can accurately chart exactly when and how our local area transformed over the decades and centuries. Moving on to Section 3, Power, Policy, and Resources. Okay, so that covers the physical space and the timeline. But to really complete my field journal, I need to understand the invisible forces that shape our town's daily life. And that means using 2 different disciplines that look at the exact same issue from completely different angles: political science and economics. Let's say a new public park is being built in town. Political science looks at governance and power. It asks, who makes the policies affecting our community? How did the local government decide on this park? Economics, though, focuses on resources and distribution. It asks, how are resources utilized to meet our needs? Like, how is the park actually being funded, and will it create local jobs? It's 2 different lenses giving me one highly comprehensive picture. And honestly, thinking critically about power, Not a modern invention. Ancient texts like the Arthashastra, written over 2,000 years ago, linked political authority directly with public welfare. In Indian political thought, power has always been viewed as an ethical responsibility toward the people, not just some privilege of the ruler. Learning this was a total light bulb moment for me because it's the very same DNA that continues to shape modern grassroots democracy today, like the local Panchayati Raj system giving citizens a direct voice in village development. Then, of course, there's the daily economic dance happening right outside my window, the back and forth between consumers and producers. Consumers, like me and my family, we decide what goods and services to buy at the local market. Producers, on the flip side, decide what and how much to produce based on what we want. But it's not totally a free-for-all. Governments step in to frame policies to balance economic growth with equity and fairness. So when I see new businesses open up on my street, I'm literally watching this dynamic play out in real time. Which brings us to our final section, the power of connected thinking. Stepping back from my field journal for a minute, I really had to ask myself, why does studying all these different branches of social science actually matter to me? Well, because it trains me to observe my surroundings critically. It teaches me to gather actual empirical evidence rather than just making assumptions. It empowers me to ask really informed questions about big things like urban growth and environmental protection. And ultimately, it transforms me into an active citizen, fully equipped to participate responsibly in civic life and tackle our shared challenges. Which brings me to the very last page of my journal, and a question I want to leave all of you with. How will today's actions in your community influence its future? Social science is this incredible framework that connects the past, the present, and the future. I know that the next time I walk out my front door, I'll be looking at my own streets with completely new eyes. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.